Hi everyone. Continuora is a disaster recovery management software that provides enterprise grade DR capabilities such as automated standby database creation, log synchronization, and a real time monitoring dashboard that provides insights into the data delays between primary and standby databases. In this video, I'll walk you through how to create standby database on Continuora platform using few clicks. We'll also see how Continuora source and target agents work in tandem to ship the real-time changes via redo logs from primary to standby database servers and how the changes are applied on the standby database to keep the standby always in sync with primary. And finally, we'll also see the real-time monitoring dashboard, which is the unique feature provided by Continuora, where you can see the data delays between all of the primary and standby database pairs. Before we jump into the demo, I would like to highlight the limitations of Oracle Standard Edition, especially with respect to disaster recovery area and how Continuora addresses those gaps. Let's look at some key limitations of Oracle Standard Edition when it comes to disaster recovery. Firstly, there is no built-in standby replication support in Standard Edition, unlike Enterprise Edition, which has data guard feature. Next, setting up a standby database involves several complex steps, most of which are manual and tedious in nature. On top of that, there is no automatic archive log shipping from primary to standby database in Standard Edition. So keeping the standby in sync with primary requires a lot of additional effort. Finally, there is lack of real-time monitoring and automation. All of this means there is heavy reliance on DBA expertise because you need skilled resources to set up a standby database, script, manage, and monitor everything. And this is exactly where solutions like Continuora come in. We have seen the limitations of Oracle Standard Edition. Now let's see how Continuora fills those gaps. First part of DR readiness is to set up a standby database. Setting up a standby database is a multi-step manual process prone to errors. However, Continuora simplifies the entire process of creating standby database using just few clicks. Once the standby database is ready, next thing is to ensure all the real-time changes on the primary database gets applied on the standby database. However, this is very challenging in Oracle Standard Edition because there is no features such as data guard. To address this issue, Continuora provides source and target agents which take the role of sending archive logs from primary to standby database, and once the archive logs are received on the standby database, those gets applied on the standby database, thus ensuring standby database gets all the real-time changes which occurred on primary database. So far so good. You have the standby database and the standby database is getting all the real-time changes. However, as you know, the database doesn't exist in isolation. There are several layers involved surrounding the database, such as storage, network, and server. If there are any minor issues in one of these layers, it can break the DR environment and may need DBA expertise. However, currently there is no way for DBA to know whether a DR is in sync with primary or not. They have to rely on manual way of monitoring to see which database is out of sync and which database is in sync. To address this issue, Continuora provides a real-time lag monitoring dashboard so that DBAs can see which databases are out of sync and which database are in sync. This is extremely useful when there are large number of database pairs, that is primary and standby database pairs. Now let's see how Continuora DRM works in real time. We'll divide the demo into three sections. In the first section, I'll walk you through how to auto discover databases using Continuora DRM, especially the primary databases. Once the primary database or databases are discovered, then I will show you how to set up a standby database for the corresponding primary database, which is running on Oracle Standard Edition version using Continuora DRM. So this would be the first section. In the second section, once we have the primary and standby database pair, I'll walk you through how to set up continuous replication between primary and standby databases using Continuora source and target agents. How to set up this we'll see in detail. Once that is done, in the final section I'll show you how to use the Continuora monitoring dashboard to monitor your primary and standby database data delay or lag. So now let's quickly jump into section 1. This is the Continuora login page. For this demonstration, I'll be using demo user. So after logging in, you'll see the main dashboard. Here you can navigate to several key sections of Continuora DRM. For this demo purpose, we'll be concentrating only on manage credentials and database hosts section. Coming to manage credentials, before the start of auto discovering of primary databases or creating standby database, let's quickly create the credentials of the server for use. So for the database user, we'll be storing the credentials, that is LDAP credentials. It could be root user, Oracle user, or any of your LDAP user as well. So primary database would be gridkk, and I would be appending my user as well. And for this username, I'll be using root. So though the field says LDAP username, you can use root and Oracle as well, even if they are not LDAP strictly. And password. This would be my primary. For standby, so this will be the credential tag. So if there are several database hosts in your system, then you can differentiate the credentials using credential tag. And this is my DR server. So you can see there are two more options, such as set as preferred credential and common credential. Common credential is one which is visible to all users who log into Continuora. But in this case, I am making this credentials as private because I don't want other users to inherit this username and passwords. Now for the first section, that is to auto discover primary databases running on the database server, we need to use a credentials for that server. So I need to mark the primary database credentials as preferred. That is root _ gridkk _ demo user. Once that is done, we'll go to home again and go to database hosts. So currently the host name present is grid1.kk.local and grid2.kk.local. We'll be adding one more, that is gridkk. not kk.local. And then we'll click on that. So there will be auto refresh going on in the backend, where it will fetch all the databases running in the corresponding database server. As you can see, there is a database instance by name Kevin, and other fields are not yet populated. So in order to populate, I'll click on refresh. So again, a refresh job will be triggered in the backend, which will fetch even more complete details of the database, such as DB name, DB unique name, the DB version, and which edition the database is running on, that is standard edition or enterprise edition or personal edition. And also it shows what is the log mode, that is whether the database is in arcalog mode or no arcalog mode. So by now it would have refreshed. So let me go back again. Yeah, it is refreshed now. So you have complete details. It's a standard edition database and it is running in arcalog mode. So now that the primary database is auto discovered using Continuora with just a one click, let's see how to create a standby database now. So I have clicked on create standby database. The DB name is auto populated. Now let's fill in all these required details. Now before creating the standby database on Continuora, we need to ensure that there is one thing. Now before we enter all these details which is required to create standby database on Continuora, there is one thing which we need to ensure. That is, we are using the correct credentials to log into the standby database server. In order to ensure that, go to credentials in Continuora, and in the available credentials, if you remember, we had created two credentials, one for primary database server and one for standby database server. Earlier the preferred tag was set to the primary database server, but in this case now we are concentrating on creating a standby database, so that database will be present on standby database server. So for all the operations to be successful from Continuora, you need to ensure that the correct credential tag is set, or more specifically used. So we need to set ID number 7 as preferred credential, because that is the credentials which will be used to log into standby database server. Once this is done, go back to database hosts. We are now ready to create the standby database on standby database server for the corresponding primary database which is running on Oracle Standard Edition. So I'll fill in all these details quickly. So let me quickly go through all of these inputs. We have given the standby database server name. DB name is auto populated. DB unique name will have prefix DG, and the database edition is standard edition, and the backup location on standby DB server, this is the U001 backup. So let me quickly show what is present in U001 backup location. So it contains full backup and standby control file name. So the details about the backup script which was run on primary database, you can find it on our blog. Now this is the backup location, and the standby control file name present in backup location, that is present in user01 backup. This is the standby control file name, and this is the path of Oracle home on standby DB server, and this will be the data file location and log file on standby server. So log file is a read log files, and data files will be user01 data files. Now let's create recovery area as well. If it is not present, okay, looks good. We have all this is the additional one to store the archive logs. So we have all covered. Now let's click on submit. Standby DB creation is in progress. So once this is completed, I will walk you through the log, how it looks like. So now we shall look at the log file to see what goes behind the scenes once you click create standby database on Continuora platform. So as you can see, there are several tasks. First, the necessary scripts pertaining to this database are being created, and after that, Continuora platform orchestrates rest of the manual database operations which are required to create the standby database, such as starting up the database in no mount mode, creating necessary destination locations on the standby database server, such as audit file dest and diagnostic dest location. Once that is done, your DB is in no mount mode, so you go ahead and restore the control file that you would do in manual way. So all of these steps are being performed by Continuora platform for you. So control file restore is being done here, and you have the database now in mount mode once the control file is restored, and then the restore operation uh, is being proceeding, and it has been completed as well. So the log looks good. Okay, so all of these tasks are completed. Now you have the standby database ready with few clicks. Now that the standby database has been restored using just few clicks from Continuora platform, the next step would be to show you how the real-time replication works with the help of Continuora source and target agents, as this is a standard edition database. So both of them are standard edition databases. So there is no feature such as data guard, which will do the work of transferring the real-time data using archive logs and applying it on the standby database. So in this case, Continuora source and target agents take up the role of data guard for standard edition databases. So before I go and show you the how those agents work in tandem to achieve this, let's see what is the current gap between primary and standby database. So we can do it manually, but instead of that, we can leverage Continuora replication dashboard, which is a monitoring dashboard where you can monitor all the primary and standby database pairs. So what is the lag between them? You can see that. So there is already one demo database where the lag is 0. However, let's see what is the lag for the new database which we created. So this are the details, primary and standby. So source DB means the primary database, target or DRDB refers to the one which was just restored. So you need to add these database pair to this dashboard. Once you add it, click on fetch lag. So it will take few minutes, couple of minutes to get the lag. One more thing to note, for a replication purpose, you need to have the credential set, which is you need to have a common SSH username and password for both primary and standby database. It need not have all the privileges. It can work with minimal privileges. So the more details of this monitoring user, you can refer to Continuora knowledge section. So for this demo purpose, I have already set the same username and password for both primary and standby database. So it uses that credential to fetch the lag. Okay, we already have the source arcalog sequence lag populated. Let's wait for the target sequence number. So there was some glitch, but it's finally populated here. There is arcalog gap of 1. Now what we shall do is we'll switch the log files on the primary databases to further increase the lag. So I'll just create one table, insert into test, values 1, commit, alter system switch log file, and I will create one more table, test2, name varchar2, insert into test2, values so some random values, and I'll do one more switch log file. Let's see what is the archive log now. Archive log, so it is 13. Let's do one more fetch. So now these changes have to be propagated to standby database. So since it is a standard edition, like I said multiple times before, it is not possible automatically. You need to have the Continuora source and target agents, which should take over this role. So once we see number 13 here, we'll proceed to next section of the demo. As you can see, now the gap is 3, so we are all good to go to the next section of the demo. Okay, let's get started. Oops, looks like the agent got inadvertently started and it's already in sync, but I want some delay to show you how the replication works. So let's do one thing. We'll switch some archive logs again. So I had created test table earlier. This is just some test record. Alter system switch log file, and let's check one more. Insert into test, values 2. Okay, that should be sufficient. System switch log file, one more. Okay, so let's go back here and fetch the lag again. Now it should be 16 on the source database, that is primary database, and now the agents are stopped, which do the work of shipping the archive logs and applying it on the standby database. So we should see a lag of 3 before we proceed with the next section, where I'll show you how the agents work or which run on source and target, how they work in tandem to uh, ship the archive logs and apply. This is in standard edition, so it is very important to remember again and again that that's why Continuora has stepped in, which because the feature isn't available in standard edition. Okay, so as you can see, there is a lag of 3. Now let's see how to make the standby database in sync with primary. To do that, let's go back to the source database where the primary DB is running. Now, since the data guard feature is absent, Continuora has this extract and apply agents. So to do that, you need to have some config file like this. So it has poll interval. It checks every 30 seconds for new archive log, and this is where log files are written, and you need to enter the database details, that is Oracle SID and Oracle Home, and you should also mention the target database details. In this case, target is standby database. What is a remote OS user? That is Oracle, and remote host is grid KKDR, and remote path is where the archive logs generated from on the primary are being shipped to standby. So those archive logs will be copied to this path on the standby database server. Okay. Now, since the file is ready, this is how you need to start the agent. Config. Okay, this is the primary. Now let's go back to the standby. Again, similar, the agent polls every 30 seconds to see the availability of new archive log. That is the one which hasn't been applied yet on the standby database server. So that's the poll interval, and again you need to provide the database details. So the standby DB unique name is DGKV, and this is the Oracle home and the LD library path and the archive log location. Now let's start the agent again. Okay, agent is started. Let's poll the log. So as you can see, it's started applying the archive logs as and when they come here. This is on the target, that is standby database server. Okay, looks like it has applied the archive log sequence number 16, thread 1. And once it is applied, it has deleted the log as well. Now let's go back to here and see what is the lag. This is the replication dashboard where you can have several of the primary and standby database pairs and see what is the lag. Let's give it a couple of minutes for this dashboard to get updated. Okay, so as you can see, it is updated already. the standby database is now in sync with the primary. So this completes the uh, demonstration part. Will also to be sure, I would like to show you one more thing. Let's open the standby database in read-only mode. To do that, let's stop the agent again. Select star from test, select star from test 2. Okay, so this is on the standby database server, and the same query will run on here, test 2 test. So this I had shown you earlier. So I had inserted values 2 and 3 in test table, and similarly test 2. So this shows that the replication is working. So this is how Continuora helps you with the comprehensive solution of creating standby database with few clicks for a standard edition databases, and it has inbuilt agents running on source and target database servers which continuously extract new archive logs which contains the latest changes and ships them to the standby database server. And on standby database server, the agent continuously polls for new archive logs and applies those real-time changes onto the standby database. And it also provides you the DB replication monitor dashboard, which we are currently seeing, where you can monitor the lag with a few clicks. And this is how you can have the DR environment ready. And once the disaster hits, you are in the most comfortable position with Continuora. So this completes the demo. Thank you all.